outside, for most of us, wrapped in mystery. But for kings, queens, presidents and diplomats, the inner courtyard and the grand entrance is the ceremonial setting for the nation's welcome. And the palace steps provide the same welcome when, for just 20 days a year, the doors of the grand entrance are open to the guests and recipients to be honoured at the investiture ceremonies.
And once more, down towards the camera now. Good. This way, madam.
Nowadays, of course, many thousands of visitors can see the garden and staterooms during the summer, but few get this very special invitation. Eight o'clock in the morning, and London begins another working day. But for the 130 men and women who are anxiously making their way to the capital, it's the culmination of many weeks of preparation. It's the day of their investiture at Buckingham Palace. By 8:30, preparations at the palace are well underway. Everything from the state apartments to the ballroom, the scene of many state occasions where today's investiture will take place, are given detailed and careful attention. Throughout the year, the staff of the Central Chancery at St. James's Palace deal with all aspects of the honour system with the help of records dating back literally hundreds of years. The Chancery also sends out the invitations together with warrants signed by the Queen. Following the compilation of the Queen's birthday and New Year's honours lists, all the details are checked against records and then sent out to be published in the London Gazette.
The Honourable Dame Lois Brown Evans, to receive the honour of knighthood and to be a Knight Commander, Military Division, Air Marshal Sir John Baird. Is that the right order?
No, in fact the Air Marshal should come first because he's Military Division.
Right.
When the various insignia arrive from the makers, each star, medal and ribbon is given a final check and then stored in the vaults of the Central Chancery of the Orders of Knighthood. At 10 a.m. precisely, the palace gates are opened to the recipients and their guests. All will experience a unique sense of occasion that will be hard to match during their lifetime. Part of that sense of occasion will be given by the Yeomen of the Guard, the Queen's oldest bodyguard, arriving here from St. James's Palace. Their long and faithful service to the sovereign has been maintained for over 500 years. Straight across, please. Three together. Straight across, please. Again, three together. Straight across, please. Investitures are stage managed with almost military precision by military men. The timing of well-rehearsed events leading up to the investiture must be accurate almost to the second. At 11 a.m., it will all begin.
Move straight forward. If the stool is there, please go down to it on your right knee. How we recommend you do that: stop behind it, take the handrail in your right hand, put your left foot on the left side, and simply lower yourself onto your right knee. It looks much better if your head is erect than like this. So there you are. The Queen taps you first on the right shoulder and then on the left shoulder with the sword. She says nothing. Once you've received the accolade on both shoulders, stand up and come round to the left-hand side of the stool, but still on the floor, not going onto the dais. Now, the Queen will then put on your insignia. While she's putting it on, she'll be talking to you. And obviously you respond. She then shakes your hand. It's a firm and positive handshake. You will not miss it. It is also the indication that your time is up. So when you get your hand shaken, please back away 2, 3, 4 paces till you're roughly where you were before, for a second little curtsy or little bow, turn to your right and continue across the room to go out of the opposite door to that through which you entered.
Victoria rectified that shortcoming by adding the ballroom. At 122 feet long, 60 feet wide and 45 feet high, the ballroom is the largest room in Buckingham Palace.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. If I may have your attention just for a few moments, I will tell you something of the proceedings at this morning's investiture. We are now in the ballroom of Buckingham Palace, which is where state banquets, the annual diplomatic reception, all London investitures, and other great events are held. There are normally 21 investitures a year at Buckingham Palace, one in the Palace of Holyrood House in Edinburgh, and one at Cardiff Castle. At each Buckingham Palace investiture, some 130 people are honoured. Investitures are held by the Queen, and sometimes on the Queen's behalf by the Prince of Wales and the Princess Royal. There are 4 gentlemen ushers to the Queen on duty, and we help to organise the investitures. Music today is provided by the orchestra of the Lifeguards under the baton of their Director of Music, Major Malcolm Torrance. In about 10 minutes, a detachment of the Queen's bodyguard, of the yeomen of the guard, will enter the room and take up their positions here on the dais. They are the oldest royal bodyguard in the world, having been formed by King Henry VII in 1485, and they still wear their Tudor uniform. Shortly after 11, the Queen will enter through the doorway on my left. Please stand and remain standing throughout the national anthem until Her Majesty bids you to sit down. The Queen will be accompanied by the Lord Chamberlain.
None? Good God. You all knew you were getting a free show today, did you? Well, you get a free show today, and actually you see more than you do if you're a paying punter, so well done you for waiting. This is the picture gallery. Better start at the basics. This is the picture gallery, and it's roughly in the middle of the palace. Your investiture takes place in the ballroom, which is right down at that end, and that's the bit you don't see if you pay to go round, so you're one up on them. And what happens when it's your turn is probably best described if I walk myself through it, and you please imagine that it is you. Here you are, you've been waiting in this room on the far side of the ballroom, inevitably in a queue. You work your way up to the front of the queue, and now you're the head of the queue, looking out into the ballroom. Ballroom stretches left and right, rather as this does, but it's a very different proportion. And you're rather at the left-hand end of it. And from your position here in this doorway, there's the Queen over half left and in the middle of the room, obviously central and on the front of a dais. She's surrounded by some of the household. Those who you'll notice immediately on this side of the Queen is her equerry, who'll be reminding her of you as you approach. On this side of the equerry, with a lectern and microphone, the Lord Chamberlain, who'll read out your name. More of that in a moment. Roughly in front of the Lord Chamberlain, and on the edge of the red carpet, stretching out from where you are, Colonel Malcolm Havergal, a gentleman usher to the Queen. That's one side of him. That's the other side. Thank you, Malcolm. That's what he looks like. You've got to find him in a moment. To your right, seated and watching you, your guests, and standing beside you in this doorway, an official from my office who, for the last time, I promise you, will check your name. You're asked to go forward into the ballroom, walk up to the gentleman usher, and stop. Listen, please, for your name. When you hear your surname, ignoring anything that follows, walk on. When you're in the middle of the room, you stop, turn to face the Queen, a little curtsy or bow, and go straight forward. The Queen is on the dais. You do not go onto the dais. But will you get quite close, because the Queen will be holding your medal, and she...
Or sport, or fundraisers from various charities.
the most excellent order of the British Empire, to be commanders, military division, most honourable order of the Bath, to be a companion, military division, Royal Victorian Order, to be a commander, distinguished order of St. Michael and St. George, to be companions.
Investitures are traditional, and I'm always absolutely fascinated by the people who come and all the things that they've done, and they all have different reactions. They all can tell you something different, and if you ask the right questions, or if if you know a little bit about what happens there, you can always, it is always different. Some of them are very cleverly discovered, you know. I think that's very important. The system does discover people who do unsung things, you know, that perhaps the local people know about, but nobody else does. And I think that's very satisfactory.
Mr. Edmund James for services to charity in Newport, South Wales.
One mustn't have a long conversation, obviously, because you'd never finish. The question you ask is what is you hope that you're going to get the answer that you want. Some say that this is for the people I work with. It's a representation rather than for themselves, which is also nice. This is also meant to be a pat on the back. And I think people need pats on the back sometimes. It's a very dingy world otherwise.
Each investiture ceremony lasts a little over an hour and brings together not only those whose efforts may be well known to us all, As today's investiture comes to an end, there can be no doubt that the day will have given lasting pride and pleasure to all.
It was a very exciting, nerve-wracking occasion, but lovely. Enjoyed every moment of it.
I'm 74. And never in my life have I been able to experience anything like it, to come up to it. And the Queen, she's wonderful.
Even the very important people who are here today, they feel exactly the same way that I do. It's something that we have and nobody else has in the world, you know.
It's great to be here today. We have had a marvellous time with a lot of seriousness too. It's great.
It was very, very nerve-wracking meeting the Queen, but she puts you very much at your ease. Very enjoyable. The day I'll always remember.
It was just beautifully organised. It was a lovely experience. I enjoyed it.
I think it's been a beautiful day. It's been really nice. It's been an honour to be here, which has been lovely.
I suppose it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing.